Welcome to this week's Tin Dog Podcast. This week, I was privileged enough to see one of my favourite episodes of Doctor Who ever. However, it was not the one broadcast at 7 o'clock, it was the one broadcast at 10:30 in the morning and was completely animated and was on BBC Two. That one, The Infinite Quest, will be discussed in next week's show. However, this week's show is dedicated to the last of the Time Lords, or was it just last of the Time Lords? I'm sure Russell had some reasoning behind it. Oh, it doesn't matter. I suppose the last is singular, last of the Time Lords could be plural because it's both. Let's leave it there, shall we? I received a piece of feedback this week. Yes, one email. And it was from someone saying they're not going to listen anymore because my podcast is too political. This came as, to be honest, a bit of a surprise. I don't see myself as a hugely political person. However, I know that last week's show was a little bit rushed. It was a bit badly put together, to say the least, and I am sorry for that. This week I'll try slightly harder to have slightly higher production values. So, was my podcast last week a little bit too political? Now, obviously, the person who said they weren't going to listen anymore isn't listening to this, so really I'm asking everyone else. Was the point that I made about Britain getting a new Prime Minister the same week that in Doctor Who, Britain got a new Prime Minister, anything more than just me commenting on satire? I don't know. I mean, I can't really comment on how other people listen to this podcast. If I did come across as too political, I'd like to apologise. My politics are my own. They're not particularly well thought out. But then again, a lot of people's aren't that well thought out. Anyway, let's discuss this week's show. Did you enjoy it? I know last week the setup was particularly good for this week's. Had we had our expectations raised too high? An argument could be made for that. But then again, I've said then again, if you're playing the Tin Dog Podcast drinking game, have a swig of tea. Or was it gin? Oh, who cares? I don't know if I liked it or not. And that's not a good approach. I mean, will I be watching it again? Very probably. I have uploaded it onto my PSP. I do enjoy watching the episodes again on a small screen. You see, it starts off with the sign 1 year on. Now, we're all TV savvy. We all know about narrative and things like that. So when something says 1 year later, you know a few things straight off. First, you kind of get the feeling that you've gone, hang on, is this Battlestar Galactica? And then you go, no. There's only 7 people in England watch Battlestar Galactica. So obviously this wasn't affected. And this must have been written far, far before, that was shown. So let's not go there. But you do get the feeling inside that you've missed something. Now, it's not exactly the same thing. And let's not get caught up in the whole smells like soap. But didn't that happen in Neighbours when Daphne died? It said 1 year later, and a load of people thought BBC just missed out episodes. Now, I know that Martha had spent the whole of the year creating her Spreading the Word. I'm going to cover the religious aspects of this later on in the podcast. I hope you don't mind hanging on. But she was off spreading the word and getting the parts for the fictional weapon. And of course, I'm sure she was meant to be met by her brother, but according to Russell T Davis's podcast, that wasn't available because he'd been double booked, so he wasn't available. So she was met by someone who I'm going to assume is going to become an ongoing character in Torchwood or wherever Martha ends up. I've got a feeling she'll probably do a few episodes of Torchwood and then end up back in Doctor Who once she uses the mobile phone. Won't be promised no crossovers. Oh, shush, like that matters. Let's face it, we're all going to watch everything. So, you've got your 1 year on sign. You know they've been away, which means the Master's been in power for a year, which in the back of your mind makes you think, this isn't how narrative works. There's going to be something involving time travel or the TARDIS, because you know that's all wired in as a paradox machine, although you're not quite sure what that is at this point. You all understand the grandfather paradox concepts and things like that, so you know the sort of thing. You've got an idea. Break the TARDIS, put everything back, the Doctor ends up on Earth. You're having all of these thoughts. You're thinking that the whole of Season 4 is going to be set on Earth with the Doctor trying to repair, rebuild a TARDIS. you're thinking, oh, it's Pertwee all over again. Not necessarily a bad thing. You know Russell likes earthbound stories. You're thinking 4 steps ahead. You're thinking, oh, it's going to be set on Earth. Russell's going to get his own way. We won't have an excuse to go to an alien planet. It'll be fine. We'll never have to visit anywhere, and so on. All this is racing through your head as you read the words 1 year later. You've already started structuring the end of the story because you've read those words. You know for a fact that reality has to be reset at some point, because that's not how narrative works. You can wipe out 9/10 of the Earth's population, but unless you're willing to stand by that for the rest of narrative and step away from the fact that the Doctor Who world isn't our world, then you know something's going to be inverted. So that was how it opened. The brother was missing, and then we're left with a list of questions from the other podcast, from the other episodes that were never really answered. Question 1. Who's the Toclafane? You know they're not really called that. In your head, you were going, please don't let them be the Daleks. Please don't let them be the Daleks. Don't let them be somebody else. And of course, you had the narrative construct of Utopia. You know they were going off. Did it occur to anyone that once the whole episode had finished, that at the end of time, there's a load of spheres that look like something off Terrorhawks, just sort of hanging there, waiting for the master to open a hole in time? They're going to be pissed off. They're going to try and come back. There's a load of heads in balls wanting to travel in time. Why did they become children? What was the point? Oh, I'm sorry. So the master went to the end of the universe and then saved them from what sounded like Mordor? Yeah, that would be the first of the Lord of the Rings references in this. So, I'm sorry, I need to cover this. Last week I apparently annoyed political fans. This week it's time to annoy religious people. Huzzah! But then again, all I'm doing is commenting on what Russell's done. For fans of the old series, a lot of growing up was done while watching the series. I know that the theology talked about in Doctor Who has had a bit of an effect on me. All of the gods in Doctor Who were false. Until the new series came. All of the gods that were evil or were good were just more evolved beings. Light, the creatures of Ragnarok, they weren't gods, they were just more evolved. It was Clarke's law. Anything too far evolved looks like magic. For example, and I'm not particularly proud of this fact, that when we had the census a few years ago, everyone in England was meant to put down religious Jedi so that it would be listed. I don't understand that. And what I actually put was lapsed Time Lord. Now, is this the beginning of something more insidious? Because we don't worship the Lord, the Time Lord, but he is the Lord of Time. Now, I'm not saying that we worship the Doctor, but we do meet every Saturday night and collectively experience a moralistic tale. So Russell's tapping into that, but is he tapping a bit too far? The whole coming back from the death, I know that Paul Cannell's gone on about it's Jesus, it's Superman, but then again this whole story is it's Jesus, it's Superman, and it's Return of the Jedi, and it's Lord of the Rings, and it's Harry Potter. Leave it there. Where was I? In the old series, all of the gods were false, and in this new series, the devil was real. It's almost like a subtext. It's not even a subtext, let's face it, it's a surtext. It just felt wrong to me. Through the power of prayer, positive thought, we can bring the Doctor back from the dead because we all have faith in him. Is it me, or is it just not feeling as comfortable as it used to? Oh, I don't know. I mean, let's face it, it was a great story. Have I not said that? I don't think I have. And to be honest, I don't think a lot of people have said that on the forums. People aren't saying what a great series this was, and it was a great series. And it's not that I'm frightened that we'll end up back where we were in fandom in the 80s. Some of the fans might not like this. I did not like the use of the Scissor Sisters song, but I'm not exactly going to stop watching it for any reason like that. I'm not fond of the Master's performance. I think he should be more calm, more collected. I like the insanity, but I like insanity in small portions. Every area was wrapped up. Now, the Master's wife, the Flash Gordon ring at the end, all we needed was mwah, ha, 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 ha in the background. I've, of course, missed out the most important part of this story. The 900-year-old Doctor. What was all that about then? Was it so that the Doctor could go off and film the segments for Blink, so that he wasn't actually there? I mean, everyone is going on about the whole Gollum thing, but do you not think he felt more like he who should not be named from the Harry Potter films? It's Voldemort, it's the Doctor, it's CGI. Alright, it was terribly, terribly well done. For a tea time show on a BBC, I loved it. But was it necessary? I just don't know. The fight with the Master at the end, he's gone all glowy, he's gone all Volon, he's gone all Babylon, bloody 5. I'm sorry, I loved that show as well. Why am I being so nasty about it? I will review this whole series in one go. I feel like I'm letting Doctor Who down by saying I didn't enjoy the series end as much as I would have liked, and that my favourite episodes were Human Nature. But I'll come back to all of this, and I will of course review what could be my favourite story of the season, the animated one, next time. So until then, be seeing you, and remember, I did like this show, just not as much as I really, really wanted to. Ta-ta. Face of Bo, my arse. Yes, of course, I haven't actually mentioned the Face of Bo Captain Jack crossover thing. I'm actually a bit lost for words. Was it a throwaway remark? Probably not. Does that mean Jack's never going to meet the Doctor again? I know it now works out better that in Gridlock he said, "Goodbye, my old friend," but I don't know. At least it does mean that Captain Jack dies at some point. But does that cheapen Torchwood? I just don't know. But with my amazing, wonderful world of canonicity, which I will do a whole podcast on, everything counts, everything's real, until somebody says it isn't. Crashing on. You have been listening to the Tin Dog Podcast. If you have been affected by anything discussed in this show, a helpline has definitely not been set up. However, you can email us at tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk or leave a comment or a picture at our website www.tin-dog.co.uk. Doctor Who is a registered trademark of the BBC, and they'll come round and bite you if you misuse it. No infringement is intended.